Welcome back to the Mark Moses Show, only right here on Sports Radio 95.9 The Fan. And right now here on the Club 52 hotline, good friend of mine down there in West Palm Beach area, Florida. Talk a little Heat and maybe some Dolphins as well. His name is Jeremy Marks-Peltz with ESPN West Palm. Jeremy, my man, how you doing today?
Good, Mark. What's going on, buddy?
I want you to know I'm doing just fine. I want you to know, I'll try talking Gators and Fins, and anyone I get in South Florida goes, yeah, that's great and all, but I want to talk about my Heat and how they're going to be good this year. Are you one of these guys as well? You're like anti-Lebron and let's go Heat, I'm ready?
Well, I'm definitely let's go Heat, I'm ready. I mean, I've been a Heat fan since 1988, so, I know that there are a lot of bandwagon jumpers and fair weather fans and those that jumped on when LeBron came on, and we welcome those, but I was there with my dad going back to the games when Ronnie Cycli and Sherman Douglas and Glenn Rice were, lighting up to the arena en route to 18 and 64 seasons. So, that's what makes it so interesting. It makes it so interesting because, let's face it, at the end of the season, the Heat are probably going to be better off when they had LeBron than however they're going to finish now. But the regular season, I don't think there's any question about it, Mark. This is more interesting, the team that they have now, than any team that they had with the big three outside of that first season when you didn't know how it was going to come together. Because every single one of these games count. There's so many, questions, whether what type of player Bosh will be, what Wade has left in the tank, the signees that they have. And it's refreshing and it's exciting watching a team that, they're going to come out and they can't take any game for granted because it could be the difference between a 3 seed and a 6 seed or a 6 seed and not making the playoffs this year.
Yeah, it's a great point. We're here at Jeremy Marks-Peltz. Follow him on Twitter at JMP1063. It's a great one if you like sports here in the state of Florida. You bring up Wade and Bosh. Do they got the chip on their shoulder? Are they angry this year that people are not going to respect those two superstars?
Well, I think they play with a chip on their shoulder. I mean, listen, nobody, maybe outside of Kobe Bryant in this day and age, plays kind of with a chip on his shoulder and loves, silencing the doubters more than Dwayne Wade. I mean, you remember back when Wade was Finals MVP, he would film those commercials, fall down 7 times, get up 8 times. He loved having those games where, even in the Indiana series the last couple of years when, people would write, is Wade done being a star? Is Wade done being anything more than than just a role player, and then coming back and having a throwback performance? So I think you're getting kind of those bleep you performances this year, that this would be that year for Dwayne Wade. And as for Chris Bosh, I don't think he looks at it as anger fueling him, but put yourself in Chris Bosh's shoes. Here's a guy that was a top 10 player in the NBA when he signed with LeBron and Wade in 2010, and I can't think of another top 10 player that had to sacrifice physically and emotionally more than Chris Bosh. And now he's got the opportunity for this to be his team. And we've seen these first few games, even though, it's Miami-Wade County down in the 305, and even though Dwayne Wade is the guy that gets introduced last and will always be the fan favorite, there's no question. This team is going to go as far as Chris Bosh takes them.
You know what gets lost with Chris Bosh? I think he's a really good dude. Like, he's kind of nice. And, maybe you have different interactions, but I met him. I thought he was nice. He seems like a guy who likes to make jokes and wants to lead this team. Do you feel like that's going to come out this year now that LeBron's not there? They're like, hey, Bosh he's a great part of the Miami Heat.
Yeah, I think he is, and I don't know him beyond just, normal media interactions, but he is one of the most honest and introspective and interesting athletes that I've ever covered or been around. He's different than your typical basketball player. He's extremely smart, book smart, as well as X's and O's. He travels the world. I mean, he's the guy that, made all those decisions about almost going to Houston and then, spurning the Rockets offer and signing a $122 million contract. Did that while he was on a 3-week African safari. That's just the type of player and the type of person that he is. And so, I don't know if he's going to be kind of that front and center vocal leader, always in front of the cameras, always the leader and clowning around with teammates like LeBron is. I mean, LeBron just has that larger-than-life personality. Shaq, when he was down here, had that larger-than-life personality. I don't think Chris Bosh is cut in that same cloth. But, Chris Bosh is a really interesting guy. He's a very nice guy. He's a guy that is extremely easy to root for. And, he can be a jokester. I mean, nobody does the video Bosh like Chris Bosh, after those games. The problem is that he's probably going to be the one interviewing most of the time. So someone else is going to have to do that for him.
That's a good point. I didn't think of that. Jeremy Marks-Peltz, ESPN West Palm, we're talking Heat. And I don't know if you saw this. I think I sent it to you. For Halloween, I had the LeBron jersey on, and it said, "I hate Miami." Because
I did see that.
Yeah, because when I see that new Nike ad, and he's like, "Let's do it for Cleveland," and they're all huddling up together, all I see is, I don't like Miami anymore. Do you feel the same way? Like, hey, I was never with the Heat. I don't know what you're talking about. And let's go Ohio. I mean, what's your take on LeBron?
My take on LeBron is simple. He's always going to do what is best for the LeBron James brand. And, my first reaction, I remember we talked about it after the letter and the decision was, you can't really get that upset at LeBron James. And, it seemed like it was a classy way to do it. And the letter was classy, but I think what we've learned over the last few months is just how phony it is. I mean, yeah. I don't dislike LeBron James. I think, he has every right to go back to Cleveland. That was the most important thing. I think Heat fans are grateful for him. I know me as a Heat fan, I'm very grateful for 2 championships, putting this team on the map for 4 years. But he's a complete phony, because if the Heat won a championship last year, LeBron would be back. I think eventually he would have gone back to Cleveland, but he admitted he would have been back for another year. This whole idea, that he's just going back and that this takes time. I mean, what he said last night after they lost to Portland, that this is going to be a long process. It's great he's saying that, publicly in front of the cameras. Behind the cameras, he's the guy that traded, that wanted Andrew Wiggins and Anthony Bennett, 2 cornerstones traded for Kevin Love, and then to sign guys like Mike Miller and James Jones, and, I think Ray Allen will be on that team probably after the All-Star break. Mike Miller's not coming over to the Cavs as being part of a long process. Like, you're not getting Ray Allen to play for part of a long process. So, I expect that all LeBron is trying to do right now is just change the narrative, downplay the expectations, and I'm not falling for it one bit. If the Cavs are not in the finals, which with that team they should be, then I think he deserves a lot of criticism. I think there will be a coaching change, and I think that, I don't think it should be any different now that he's back in Cleveland. That's one of the things that bothers me about this narrative, Mark, is like, why is it now the same things that everybody, when he got off to a 9-8 start in 2010, it was, this isn't going to work, fire Eric Spoelstra, everyone was taking shots at LeBron. Now that he's back in Cleveland, it's, this is part of the growing pains of the young team. I mean, give me a break.
Look, man, he had a Sweet 16 party last Thursday night. That home opener, that was a Sweet 16 MTV right. episode, and no one ripped him for it because he's the prodigal son. And you know what's the best part? He lost the game. That's all you need to know. I want your take on this. I imagine if we were playing pickup basketball in the West Palm area, right? You and me are picking
right.
teams, right? If I picked LeBron, he would have to go talk to his advisors if that would be the right move for him. That's literally how I think of LeBron. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think so, and that's where I always caution. I'm amazed again at the amount of people that say, when he signs that short contract where he can opt out and become a free agent as early as this off season, and everyone thinks, he's only doing it for the TV deal and the cap's going to go up. Well, that's great if you believe in that, but if the Cavs are sitting there in a year or two and they're not winning a championship, and LeBron can make more money or enhance his legacy by playing in New York or Los Angeles, he's going to New York or Los Angeles. Like, he already left Cleveland once. What makes you think that he can do it, that he's not going to do it again?
Yeah, he'll go take that Clippers Microsoft money. I agree. I agree
right.
with you, man. What about Christmas Day then? I've been jacked up since we found out maybe July or August. I can't wait for Christmas Day when he's going to return and what's going to happen. What's your take on what might happen on Christmas Day between the Heat and Cavs?
Yeah, it's interesting, Mark, because I was really upset in the preseason. Like, I hated the fact that the Heat and Cavs played a game in Brazil, because I thought at the time, well, now it's going to downplay Christmas. It's going to lose some of the luster. But I think now, it's a preseason game. Everyone's forgotten about that. I think what's going to happen on Christmas Day is the Miami Heat are too classy of an organization to allow fans to really boo LeBron. Like, I think what they're going to do, and I saw this firsthand when the Heat traded Shaq in 2007, and he came back his first game in Phoenix a few weeks later, and Shaq's departure from the Heat was much more tense and tumultuous than LeBron's was. I mean, there was, some serious friction going on with Shaq and the Heat, Shaq and Pat Riley and Alonzo Mourning. And, before they even introduced his name, they had the welcome back video. They had the public address announcer, instead of deadpan, Shaquille O'Neal did, please welcome back Shaquille O'Neal. And they killed him with kindness. And, even though over the course of the game, Shaq got booed a little bit, it was ultimately the Heat set it up for the fans to cheer. And I think they're going to do that with LeBron. I think you're going to see a welcome back video. You're going to see thanks for the memories. And even though behind closed doors, Pat Riley and Mickey Harrison, I think, feel the same way that we do, I think they're going to kill LeBron with kindness, and they're not even going to give fans the opportunity to really sit there and boo him. I could be wrong, but I think that's the MO the organization has always shown.
What are your thoughts on the Dolphins real quick, man? Do you need to see a playoff spot before you can start having parades? What's your take real quick?
Yes, I am not ready to order my 2015 Super Bowl tickets like a lot of Dolphins fans are. I mean, listen, they've had a good stretch. Ryan Tannehill is having far and away his best season. I think, I know I've said for 3 years the offense that Ryan Tannehill should be running is a read option-based offense. He's one of the best athletes playing quarterback in the NFL. So, I don't know why it took so long for them to figure it out. But, great job of their new offensive coordinator, Bill Lazor. I'm not buying this team, Mark. I still am not. I think, they've got 3 games coming up at Detroit on Sunday, then a quick turnaround at home against Buffalo, and then at Denver. I think they're going to lose all 3 of those games. I think certainly they're not favored this weekend, against a very good Detroit team. They're obviously not going to be favored at Denver. In Buffalo, you can say they should beat, but, I mean, the Bills are 5-3, and the Bills have owned the Dolphins the last couple of weeks, or last couple of years. So, if they lose those next 3 games, and the Dolphins are sitting back at 5-6, and then we're having the same conversations, fire Joe Philbin, is Ryan Tannehill the guy? And one other thing to keep in mind, regardless of what they do over these next few weeks, I mean, the Dolphins are in a good situation right now, but you've got the Bills with the same record. You've got the Ravens. You've got the Steelers, the Browns, the Bengals, the Chargers, the Chiefs. I may be forgetting something. I mean, you got about 5 or 6 teams right now that the Dolphins are tied with or a half game behind. They're all fighting for 1 or 2 playoff spots. So, I mean, as well as they've been playing these last few weeks, like, there's a better chance, in my opinion, they don't go to the playoffs than they do.
Great stuff. Jeremy Marks-Peltz, ESPN West Palm. Follow him on Twitter at JMP1063. Jeremy, I know you're a busy man. Thank you for talking some Heat and Dolphins with me. And let me get you on again, all right?
Hey, anytime, man.